There are a lot of strong and nearly unbeatable monsters in Goosebumps. However, the creatures in this video are so easy to defeat that a 5-year-old could do it at age 3. Number 10, the gruel from It Came From Beneath the Sink. This takes killing it with kindness to a whole nother level. So in the book, It Came From Beneath the Sink, Katrina Morton, or Kat, moves into a new home with her family. She discovers a sponge underneath the sink, but realizes it's no ordinary cleaning product. The sponge has eyes, and as soon as Kat gets a hold of it, bad things start to happen. Thanks to her brother Daniel, they learn that the sponge is actually called a gruel. Gruels thrive off of bad luck, and if the owner of the gruel gives it away, they will die within 1 day. At first, it seems like the gruel is a pretty strong monster. Kat and Daniel try burying it, hitting it with a school book, and even shoving it in a garbage disposal, but they have no luck. This thing seems indestructible, right? Well, not even close. After trying everything, Kat gets the idea to be nice to the gruel and give it compliments. This actually works. The gruel grows smaller and explodes. Now, the TV episode of It Came From Beneath the Sink changes things a bit. In the show, the gruel can't be killed. Instead, Kat gives it some music to listen to, and the gruel doesn't bother her anymore. Either way, the gruel is one of the easiest Goosebumps monsters to defeat. Number 9, the Frightener from A Nightmare on Clown Street. The Frightener is a pretty obscure Goosebumps villain, and it's probably best that he is. He's just a regular dude that got scared by clowns as a kid. This caused him to have a vendetta against all clowns, and he ended up creating a place called Clown Street. There, the Frightener imprisons clowns and forces them to fight against bears and giant squids. That's actually kind of dark for a Goosebumps story, but that's besides the point. Anyways, the main character of the story, Ray Gordon, comes up with a plan. He and a group of clowns corner the Frightener and start laughing. This frightens the Frightener and he runs away and is never seen again. I get that clowns are scary, but come on. How strong of a villain can you be if all it takes to make you surrender is a bit of white makeup and a red nose? Number 8, the Horrors from Horrorland. Now, don't get me wrong, these guys are some of my favorite Goosebumps monsters. The Horrors are these green, horned monsters that run the amusement park, Horrorland. They're creepy for the same reason Horrorland is creepy. You're never sure if what they're saying is real or all part of the act. The Horrors are pretty intelligent too, but they're still kind of airheads. Literally. All you have to do to kill a horror is pinch them. I'm not making that up. Give any one of these guys a pinch and they'll deflate and die. So as long as you have 2 working fingers, you can take down the entire inhabitants of Horrorland. Better yet, just have a thumbtack and make it easier. Number 7, the Swamp Monster from How to Kill a Monster. The Swamp Monster lives in a swamp. Duh. But in the book and TV episode, the main characters find the creature locked in their grandparents' house. Now, the swamp monster is actually pretty durable. The thing survives falling off a ledge. However, what earns the swamp monster a place in this top 10 is what kills them. The thing is allergic to humans. The swamp monster tries to eat one of the protagonists, but ends up dying and explodes. Both the book and the TV episode have this creepy ending with the characters finding out that there are more swamp monsters out there, but it's really hard to take that seriously when these things can't touch you without being blown to bits. I guess if you weren't a human, then the swamp monster would be an actual threat, but I'm just gonna assume that you are. You are human, right? Number 6, the giant praying mantis from A Shocker on Shock Street. Okay, I know what you're thinking. How could these guys possibly be that easy to defeat? To that I say, stay calm, let me explain, okay? In A Shocker on Shock Street, 2 kids, Aaron and Marty, are given the opportunity to be the first people to ride a new theme park attraction based on a horror movie franchise called Shock Street. However, the ride malfunctions partway through, and the 2 go wandering on their own. They then encounter 2 giant praying mantises. So, how do they defeat them? Just like how you get rid of any bug. By stepping on it. Yeah, despite the mantises being at least 3 times the kid's height, Aaron and Marty just stomp on the mantis's legs and they're down for the count. It kind of makes that scene in the Goosebumps movie less suspenseful when you realize Jack Black could just hit the mantis with his shoe. Number 5, Mrs. Marr from Creature Teacher. The 3rd book in Goosebumps Series 2000 begins with the main character, Paul, being sent to a boarding school. On his first day there, he meets his teacher, Mrs. Marr. She quickly tells Paul and the class that she's a monster and will eat the student who's at the bottom of the food chain. Paul ends up being the unlucky one and gets chased by Mrs. Marr. Paul then learns that the way to stop the creature teacher is by making her laugh. Yep, laughing is Mrs. Marr's weakness. It's not even like Paul tells a great joke. He decides to tickle her feet and it does the trick. Mrs. Marr goes into hibernation for 6 months. Laughter is the best medicine, or in this case, the best weapon. Number 4, the mud monsters from You Can't Scare Me. These guys look pretty cool, but trust me, they require no skill to defeat. In You Can't Scare Me, Eddie and his friends want to scare Courtney, an obnoxious girl in their class who doesn't get intimidated by anything. They find out that Courtney believes in the legend of the mud monsters, so Eddie and the gang plan on dressing up as one and scaring their classmate. However, they find out that the mud monsters are real and get scared off. Now, in the TV show episode, things go down a bit differently. Once the kids are confronted by the mud monster, Courtney begins talking to it. I guess it has good manners because the mud monster just sits there and listens. It goes on for so long that the mud monster dries up and can't move. Courtney literally talked the monster to death. So yeah, if you ever find a mud monster, just start chatting to it, or bring a hairdryer along. Number 3, Tutenraw from Who's Your Mummy? Appearing in the 6th Goosebumps Horrorland book, Tutenraw is an ancient Egyptian who has survived for 1,000,000 years. How did he do this? By eating the organs of mummies. Go figure. Anyways, Tutenraw needs a protein that's in some people's hair to keep his mummies alive. When you know it, the main characters of the story, Abby and Peter, have that protein. So how do they defeat the man who figured out how to be immortal? By spraying him with a squirt gun. Yeah, a few drops of water and Tutenraw instantly melts into ashes. What happens if this guy's outside and it starts raining? Does this also mean that Tutenraw hasn't taken a shower in 1,000,000 years? Well, anyway, just have a super soaker on hand and you'll have no problem with Tutenraw. Number 2, the undead cats from Claws. You know, that whole having to defeat the monster thing is so hard. Wouldn't it be nice if the monsters just killed themselves? Well, that's basically what the cats in the book Goosebumps Hall of Horror's Claws do. So the main character Mickey is taking care of his neighbor's cat Bella. However, he accidentally leaves the front door open and Bella gets run over by a truck and dies. Mickey ends up getting an identical looking cat at a store called Cat Heaven. Well, actually, he steals the cat because the store says they won't sell it to him. In doing so, Mickey accidentally lets a bunch of other cats escape. As the book continues, Mickey keeps getting haunted by all the felines. As it turns out, Bella, as well as all the other cats, were already dead, and Cat Heaven is a very literal name. Since Mickey wasn't the original owner of all those cats, that's why they started haunting him. In order to get rid of the undead cats, Mickey simply lets the cats outside as he did before, and they reenact their deaths and get sent back to Cat Heaven. Literally, all you have to do to defeat the undead cats is open the door. Well, that's pretty easy, but there is one more Goosebumps monster that's even easier to defeat, and that's number 1, King Jellyjam from the horror at Camp Jellyjam. At least with the other monsters, you had to do something regardless of how simple it was. Literally, the way to kill King Jellyjam is to do nothing. In the book, The Horror at Camp Jellyjam, 2 kids, Wendy and Elliot, accidentally end up at the titular Camp Jellyjam. They find out that the camp counselors are being mind controlled by King Jellyjam, a giant purple blob that oozes out black snails. Wendy and Elliot find out the monster's been enslaving kids at Camp Jellyjam and using them to clean himself. Wendy then decides to tell all the kids to stop cleaning at the same time. This causes King Jellyjam to suffocate from his own stench, and he melts into a puddle of goo and dies. Yes, Jellyjam kills himself. I don't know how much easier it gets than that. Now on the other hand, Slappy is strong, but can he defeat the evil Megan doll? To find out, watch the video on screen.